super special edition of Our Kids Play Goalie today. We got Carter Hart, starting goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers, on today, and we talked about some awesome stuff. One is how players don't like using the word rebuild, although they understand they're in a position like that. I thought there was some really amazing perspective from him on how a player approaches something like that. Also, one of my favorite topics, being present, or as he says, being the game. He gives some incredible insight in this episode from a goaltender point of view as a professional about how to get the best out of himself. Also, his team first mentality. I'm just reading my notes here because it was so good. And then the importance of communication on a team, not just from the goaltender to the defenseman, but to the coaching staff and everyone around. There is a lot of gold in this episode. And you're really going to enjoy it. And remember, if you love this show, if you love this community, make sure you join our Facebook community. It's called Our Kids Play Hockey on Facebook. And make sure that you give us those 5-star reviews and share the episodes with anyone that could gain value from listening to these. Again, our goal is to spread these messages and to make sure that as a hockey community, we're growing and doing better together. And this episode is another great volume, if you will, into that mission. So here we go. It's Our Kids Play Goalie with Carter Hart. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another episode of Our Kids Play Goalie, the hit sitcom based off of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias here with Mike Benelli, and our guest today has a short intro but a powerful one. We are joined by World Junior Championship gold medalist and the starting goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers, Carter Hart. Carter, welcome to Our Kids Play Goalie.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, man, it's great to have you here. I gotta start with the obvious question that my whole crowd and family will jump on me if I don't ask. But look, there's been a lot of changes in the Flyers organization in recent years, in recent weeks. And from where I sit, it seems that an identity is starting to form for the future of that club. The word rebuild has been thrown around a lot. Keith Jones recently said, the Flyers are coming back, which is really exciting. So hockey fans get to see very little of what goes on outside of games, outside of practices, outside of press conferences. So my first question for you is, what is something that no one sees or realizes about a team in transition like the Flyers?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's kind of said it there that we're entering that kind of rebuild stage. It's something that we've been kind of avoiding the last few years. With everyone knows how we finished the last few years, and it's nowhere near where we want to be. We still want to be playing this time of year, but I think we're making the right steps to build a better future and a future that has the Flyers consistently being a playoff team and a playoff contender. And I think we're making the right steps. Torts has been great for us this year on the bench. Danny there at the end of the year coming in. I mean, Chuck's a great man. You never want to see anybody lose their job, but Danny is a very smart hockey man, and I think he's going to be huge in turning this around. And then hiring Jonesy there. Jonesy travels with us on the plane. He's been with these two TNT and with NBC Philly, and he's been on the commentating side for a little while now. But played the game, played for the Flyers. Another smart hockey man, and he's a beauty too. So we're excited to have these guys kind of leading the charge, turning this around.
Do you find it challenging at all when it comes to fans? And again, the fact that everyone has an opinion, right? But they don't see the work you're putting in. They don't see the work the other guys are putting in. Again, from a day-to-day aspect, is that something you don't think fans sees? That, obviously the players care, right? But how much energy goes into in a rebuilding stage of, like, you want this too, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everyone throws that rebuild word around now a little bit more loosely, and it's not a word that us as players like to hear or like
Right.
to on a daily basis. So I think it's something that obviously we're in that stage. There's no avoiding it, but we want to turn this thing around as quick as we can and become a contender and a playoff team on a regular basis. And guys, this year, I think we made some big steps with our young guys, our young players coming in. Tip had a great year. He had a really good breakout season. Morgan Frost, a lot of skill. Farabee found his game at the end. Even some young guys coming up and playing some games with Ronnie and with Igor Zamula came in and played really solid. So even Tyson Forster, I can't forget him. He's a beauty as well, and played some big games for us there at the end and scored some nice goals. And No, I think our pipeline has guys that are going to step in, maybe not right away, but in the future, and just they need some seasoning first and some experience, and so can become a huge part of our team going forward. And I think that's something that Danny realizes and understands, and that's kind of where we are now. Um, but like I said, like this year, a lot of big steps,
Hmm.
a lot of growth with those guys, and I mean, you look at our team and great group of guys this year. Like in the room, we had a great room of guys, and we stuck together. And I think that's why we weren't obviously not where we want to be, but I mean, we were like 4 or 5 points out of a playoff spot right
Hmm.
around the All Star break, and no one even thought we'd be there. They thought we'd be way at the bottom. So um, I think kudos to our group for sticking with it even at the end there, just grinding it out, and some wins against some good teams this year, and
Right.
uh, I mean maybe we're not the most skilled group, and I think people realize that, especially this year. But we're no one's going to outwork us, and I think that's the mentality going forward when we do become better. That has to stay with us.
Right. Cutter, I'll say this: culture also always has to be built before the wins happen. Right. And you can bring in as much
Yeah.
talent to a team as you want, but if the culture is not there, it's not going to pan out. And I think just as a viewer last season, there's clearly a culture. There's clearly effort every game, right? So that's exciting from a fan point of view to see. As a coach, as a player myself, that has to be there, or it's not going to work. And again, you're leading that charge in a lot of ways. I do want to turn topics now because I want to talk about you and your life, especially for our audience. Something unique I found when I was researching you is at the age of 10. Now, my kid's 9, so he's right there. He's a goaltender, right? You were trained by a sports psychologist. What were some of the key lessons you were taught early at that age on mentally that has impacted your game and even your life?
Yeah, so I mean, I started working with a guy there at a young age. He was my goalie coach, John, and then he was a sports psychologist as well, and so I was kind of exposed to that world at a pretty early age, and I think that's been a huge part of my life on and off the ice, just with how I carry myself and how I live my day to day life. But um, I work with a guy now based out of Vancouver, Walter Aguilar, and this year he's been a huge help for me. And once a week we chat throughout the year, and just on Zoom call, and just to have another voice to talk to, whether it's about hockey, what's going on in my life, or anything else. It's just kind of nice to have somebody to talk to that's maybe not your parents, or somebody that you can tell some things that maybe you don't want to tell your parents, but um, he's been a big help. And for me, the biggest thing that I learned this year is when I'm at my best is when I'm just being, and I'm just playing the game. And I'm not playing the game, I'm being the game.
Mm,
I have uh, no inner focus. My focus is completely outer, and I'm just completely present.
love it.
Yeah, I mean, just the way you speak to, obviously, and I could hear it in your voice too. And I certainly, I know from as a coaching perspective and a player perspective, we never want to hear about, rebuilds, right? And I'm always thinking, well, if we rephrased it more for a refit, right? About, okay, well, what pieces can we replace, and what pieces can we, improve on, and what pieces do we like? And we just have to kind of fit those pieces together. And you alluded to it a little bit about where some of the players were, and how they progressed throughout the year. And I guess so the defensemen really are really where you kind of have to communicate the most with, right? I mean, they're the players that, that I think if you're on the same page with them, that refit helps, right? Having guys back there that are supporting you, they know you're supporting them. And I just maybe real quick, just to talk to the audience, because we obviously we have goaltenders listening, parents of goaltenders, but also players and defensemen. What are some of the steps that you ensure that you can? What are some of the strategies maybe that you use with your defensemen, and maybe related to a youth level too, right? Is that obviously we don't have the meetings and the time to really have hours with our defensemen, but what are some of the strategies that you would use as a goaltender to communicate with your defensemen and make sure that is the right fit during the season?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is communication. I mean, you said it. It's the biggest thing between a goaltender and a defenseman. They're defensemen are your best friends out there. They're the ones blocking shots in front of you. They're the ones saving some goals sometimes when you're slimming or flopping out of the net. And I think behind the net, playing the puck, you have to be on the same page, and that's something you work on. And when new guys come in and out of the lineup, like we saw towards the end of the year. That's just kind of something I just kind of quickly talk to them and make sure that they're on the same page and they know the calls, and so that we're all on the same page. And I mean, anytime that I can go behind the net and help break out the player, help them so they don't have to retrieve a puck and get crushed along the boards, I'm going to try and do that because they do a lot for us, and they're a huge part of our team. And like there's guys that play 25, 27 minutes a night and they're playing a lot. And anything I can do to go out there and help them and save their bodies, it's from communication. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So, that being said, especially at the youth level, right, we most always have two goalies. And so you've seen on the NHL level that you see certain defensemen feel comfortable with one goal or the other, or they play differently actually right in front of a goalie. If you're a goalie that can come out and play the puck, or you're somebody that's more, wants to freeze the puck more, or you control rebounds differently than another goaltender, just based off of your relationship with other goaltenders, are you using the same verbiage? Like, is it the two goaltenders and the defenseman and strategizing, how you want to play? Or is there a distinct difference between, hey, I'm in the net, this is how I'm going to play, and that guy's in the net and this is how he's going to play? And do you see the big difference in how defensemen then defend in the zone?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. Everybody plays a different style, in the net, behind the net, playing the puck. I mean, for me, like our communication stays the same between me, Felix, and all our defensemen. In the net, in the play, like we kind of have our own structure, our own system that we play by, and that's something that I mean, this year was a little different with Torts behind the bench, but we're on the same page. Like we go through it in video, we talk about it almost on a daily basis with Shazi, who's our D coach, and PK coach. Like I think that's really important that you're on the same page with your defenseman. They're on the same page with you. You understand them. You know who's out there for you. I think that's really important.
If I can jump in, Carter, it's happened on a few things that are really important to me as a coach. One is that you're alluding there has to be a trust between you and your teammates, number one. Number two, how important communication is, how it happens often, it happens daily. We need to create more environments for our younger players to understand that. And then the other thing you said earlier in the episode was that, being the game, being present. I think present moment awareness is essential if you want to succeed at anything at a professional level. So my question for you is this, and I'm interested in two parts to this. One is that something you practice on your own? And is it something that you notice your teammates do as well? Because I think to achieve present moment awareness, you have to practice it all the time. It doesn't just, snap your fingers, I'm in a game and I'm present, right? So how do you practice that, and how does the team practice that?
I mean, everybody's different. I mean, for me personally, like I really got into meditation this year. I use this tool called Muse. It's a headband that you wear that tracks your brain signals. You attach it it's connected to your phone to an app. You put on your headphones, and the one I use is an unguided meditation, 10 minutes before bed, 10 minutes in the morning, and then 10 minutes when I wake up from my pregame nap on game day. So you're pretty much just practicing being in the zone. The one I use plays campfire noises louder when you're thinking more, and then plays birds singing when your mind is quiet.
That's amazing.
And I think that's been a really good tool to essentially practice being in that flow state in the zone.
I love that. And I'll tell you why, because again, when it comes to physical fitness, we all know what to do, right? We all know what we need to do to stay physically fit, or adversely not stay fit. I don't think we do enough of it mentally. And I love it. Like you said, it just 3 times a day you do that, right? Just to continue to stay in a present state. So I think for all the young people listening, actually everybody listening, this isn't limited to just young hockey players. This is something you can practice. It's practiced at the elite professional level with a pretty damn good goaltender.
If I can add, like, I think,
Please, yeah,
like, it's for me, like, I've struggled with sleep in the past, and that's probably the biggest part of your body and your recovery has been sleep. And one thing I noticed this year is being able to play more games. I think I played the most amount in my career in a season this year, and then play more consistently. And I think I credit that to some of my sleep.
mm-hmm.
Doing meditations in the morning makes you more present throughout the day, kind of gets you going when you wake up, and then my meditation at night just clears my mind, and I'm able to fall asleep like that. And
Right.
in the past, I'm usually been a guy that I'll try and read before bed, and then my brain's just racing. And then
Right.
next thing I know, it's like an hour and a half, you're still not asleep.
Yeah. And think about how much control you have as a professional athlete. And then think about when you were 13, 14 years old and you're in the car with your parents and you're driving home from 11:30 at night practice and you just got off the ice, or it's a tournament game and it ended at 9:30 on a Friday night and the next game's going to be at 7:30 the next morning. I mean, think about how important sleep is to the teenage body and not only a professional athlete, right? So using these type of tools and these type of techniques really does add so much. And we talk about nutrition, we talk about physical fitness, and we talk about, mental acuity and just mental, your ability mentally to stay in the game. But one of these, obviously, we don't talk enough about, and you could maybe allude to it even more, is that the ability to find a way to get to sleep and clear your mind, how much that prepares you for your next day of training. And, obviously, if a youth player can't afford Muse or afford a system like this, like what are some other like out of the box things that they could do to help them with this type of strategy? I mean, one of them, I guess, would be not being on Instagram until 11:30 at night, right? I mean, shutting the phone down, and it sounds like you've been able to do that as a professional athlete. But maybe some advice for those kids out there that maybe can't get access to these other types of tools.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important that you find a routine, a sleep routine, whether that's just reading before bed for 15, 20 minutes, and then go on YouTube. You can find hundreds of meditations or guided meditations, unguided, for sleep. Like they're all over there, and that's what I first started with. I remember doing those coherent breathing meditations when I was 14, 15 years old, and just off a YouTube track. And I think that's really important that you find that routine and what works for you. Like I've kind of had my own routine that I've played with over the years, change things in and out as I get older, or what works for me and what doesn't. But I've kind of found one where I take a hot shower before bed, an hour and a half before bed. I do the last 2 minutes of the shower, cold shower. I get out, I read for about 20, 30 minutes, and then I do my 10-minute meditation, and then I'm usually asleep within the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, so when my son listens to this, I'll have to watch his showers, because I think you're always his first pick on NHL 23 right now. So maybe that will add to it a little bit more. Just understanding, all these little strategies you can use, to help you get to sleep and find ways to clear your mind and your body just to prepare for the next day.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that's a huge part of training, of being ready the next day, whether it's game day, or practice day, or whatever you have the next day. And that's something that I've learned I've learned the hard way. I remember during the COVID year, I wasn't sleeping at all. Like I was getting like, this was in 2021 when we played the half season. And I remember I was getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night after a game, before practice, or whatever it was. And I remember just feeling like crap, like for a lot of the year. And I had a terrible year. And I started to figure it out towards the end, and with my sleep and getting things on track and trying different things. And I mean, I heard LeBron James talk about it, where he's getting, I think, 10 to 11 hours of sleep a night. That's a little bit on the other extreme side, but I mean, he's 38 years old. He's a freak of nature, and he's still performing at a lights out level. So,
yeah, I remember JJ Watt a few years back. He was on the HBO specials about this football team, and I remember him saying to one of his teammates, "Oh no, my life's really boring. I pretty much practice, I eat, and I sleep every day, and I try and get 9, 10 hours in a night." And I appreciate you sharing all this, because you're going to teach these younger kids and families stuff that you didn't know, like you said. And I got to ask this question because you brought it up. What does Carter Hart read? What are you reading?
Right now I'm reading The Power of Now by
Awesome.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
So it's a book about being present.
Right. That's one of my favorites.
So I try to read books that are kind of helpful and stuff that I'm doing in my life. And I was also reading early in the year, I was reading the Bob Probert biography there, and it's really, really cool book. And so just trying to read stuff that I'm interested in, or
right.
Stuff
Have
like
you read
that.
Keith Jones's book yet?
I haven't. No,
yeah,
no.
it's hilarious. You know,
No, I have to. He's our president. He's
right.
He's probably going to give us all a copy on our first day in camp.
Yeah, you better have it in your stall, maybe.
You're gonna have to get the updated edition, including his years as Flyers president. Last question for me, Carter. I know we're running short on time here. Again, my son's 9 years old. He's been playing goalie 2 seasons, loves it. Right. Speaking to every kid in his position right now, like, what's something you wish you knew then that you know now, that you think a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old could apply to their game today?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me is enjoy your time. Like, don't try to rush. I remember when I was a little bit younger being, I cannot wait to get to the next level. I cannot wait to become a junior hockey player. I can't wait to become a pro hockey player. And now I look back, and even just catching up the other week, I'm catching up with some old friends that I played minor hockey with that I hadn't seen in probably 5-6 years. Just reminiscing on the days where you just go to the rink, you put on your gear, you just came home from school, your mom's taking you to the rink, put on your gear, and you're just going out and having fun with your friends. And we miss those days where you go out and there's not a worry in the world. And I think it's a little bit easier at that age just to go out and just have fun and just play. And I think that's something that often gets overlooked and forgotten about once you become a higher level athlete. And it's something that needs to stay important and needs to stay fun. Once it stops being fun, then why even play? So I would say just enjoy your time with your friends and make the most of it, and work as hard as you can. And the players in front of you will work just as hard for you. That's
a fantastic answer. And I think parents and kids both need to hear that. Mike, do you have any more before I close it out?
No, I mean, I your perspective is great. We really appreciate your time coming on here, and wish you the best of luck and the new group down there, and the start of the season. And have a safe and productive off season.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. The future is clearly bright in Philadelphia right now, Carter. You're a massive heartbeat part of that, and spine, whatever metaphor we want to use. So appreciate you coming on today and give us the time. We'll make sure we're going to get you a copy of Jonesy, the book, just so you can have it. Sure, I want you to show up with it. I read your book, Keith, day one. He'll appreciate that. He's a funny guy. But Carter Hart, thanks so much for joining us on Our Kids Play Goalie today. It's a real honor. And we look forward to watching you this year.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Goalie. For Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias, and that's Carter Hart. Thank you for being here today. If you want to hear more of Our Kids Play Goalie, or our new show, Ride to the Rink, or the main show, Our Kids Play Hockey, check out ourkidsplayhockey.com for all episodes, or whatever podcast provider you listen on. They're all there under that Our Kids Play Hockey moniker. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.